In a world where everyone is shouting just to be heard, where emotions are worn like medals, and every opinion becomes a public performance, there's a different kind of man. He doesn't need a stage. He doesn't rush. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't crave attention. Instead, he stands calm, composed, untouchable, and because of that, impossible to ignore. This man isn't cold. He's trained. He is what true confidence looks like. Centuries before modern self-help gurus, Machiavelli understood this quiet power. He wrote that it's not enough to be strong, you must appear strong. And in an age of constant noise, the boldest display of strength is no reaction at all. True confidence isn't about charm, fast talking, or a constant smile. It's about nonchalance. That steady calm that makes people wonder what's on your mind. That silence that feels like dominance. Today, you'll understand why the man who doesn't flinch is the one who leads. Because as Machiavelli put it, the one who shows no need ends up with everything. Niccolò Machiavelli, the political thinker of the 16th century, is often remembered for the phrase, "The ends justify the means." But behind his reputation as a ruthless strategist was a man who understood human nature with unnerving clarity. In The Prince, he argued it's not enough to be virtuous, brave, or fair. What truly matters is the appearance of those virtues. To him, power doesn't always belong to the most noble. It belongs to the one who masters the art of perception. This is where Machiavellian psychology begins. How others see you can be as important, sometimes even more important, than who you really are. A ruler, he said, must learn to hide intentions, master emotions, and project control even when chaos reigns within. This lesson, though written centuries ago, feels more relevant than ever. In a world where people react instantly to everything, the man who keeps his composure stands out. Nonchalance becomes his armor. Not because he doesn't feel, but because he's learned not to show. He understands, as Machiavelli taught, that influence over others starts with mastery over oneself. But let's be clear, nonchalance is one of the most misunderstood qualities today. Many mistake it for apathy, arrogance, or emotional coldness. In truth, real nonchalance isn't born of indifference. It's born of control. It's the art of staying centered while the world tries to pull you off balance. To be nonchalant is to have presence without trying, strength without noise, confidence without needing anyone's approval. It's the ability to feel deeply, yet keep a calm face, measured words, and deliberate movements. Contrary to popular belief, the nonchalant man does care, but he's deliberate about where he places his energy, his attention, and his reactions. He knows that every time he responds impulsively, he hands over a piece of his power. That's why he values silence, pauses, and careful observation. He isn't detached, he's disciplined. Nonchalance in this sense is like a concealed blade. It doesn't need to be shown to be effective. This restraint isn't a mask, it's the result of self-awareness, mental training, and control over his own impulses. At its core, nonchalance is the visible reflection of an inner empire already conquered. It's the mark of someone who doesn't need to chase validation because he knows who he is. And someone who truly knows himself never has to prove it. Non-reactivity is one of the most silent, yet powerful weapons a confident man can wield. In a world where every insult sparks conflict and every compliment creates dependency, the man who refuses to be provoked becomes an anomaly, a natural authority. He doesn't act on impulse. He doesn't take the bait. And that unsettles people. The strategic value of non-reactivity lies in the way it disorients others. People are used to controlling situations with emotion. A sharp insult expects an angry reply. A provocation expects desperate justification. A silence expects nervousness. But when no reaction comes, they lose their grip. Their usual game stops working. Nonchalance creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, tension grows. Tension sparks curiosity. And curiosity, when used wisely, becomes power. The non-reactive man becomes unpredictable. While others are transparent and easy to read, he remains opaque and mysterious. And what can't be read can't be manipulated. He sets the pace. He watches before he moves. And when he does move, it's with precision, catching everyone off guard. This isn't luck, it's strategy. While others scramble to defend themselves, he's already 3 steps ahead, analyzing, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He's like a chess player who ignores his opponent's frantic moves, calmly positioning his pieces for a quiet checkmate. He understands that an immediate reaction is a roadmap to your vulnerabilities, so he doesn't give that away. Non-reactivity isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about refusing to let them control the timeline of your response. And whoever controls the timeline controls the game. To overshare your emotions is to hand someone a detailed map of your emotional landscape, your treasures and your weak spots. That kind of exposure makes you vulnerable, easy to manipulate, and predictable. And a predictable man loses power. Every impulsive gesture, every nervous justification, every overreaction signals to the world exactly what shakes you. And once that's known, anyone, intentionally or not, can use it against you. Excessive emotional exposure strips you of mystery, of leverage, and often of respect. Machiavelli warned, a leader cannot be fully transparent. He must know how to hide intentions, control his expressions, and filter his words. To reveal everything is to surrender control, and worse, to signal neediness, insecurity, and a hunger for approval. The truly confident man doesn't fall into that trap. He feels, but he doesn't feel obligated to show it. There's immense power in restraint, in a look that speaks volumes without a single word, in a steady posture in the face of provocation, in a faint smile that deflects criticism with ease. Because whoever controls his expression also controls the narrative. And in the game of influence, the narrative is everything. Sharing your emotions carelessly with those who haven't earned your trust is like leaving the gates of a fortress wide open, a fortress that took years to build. The nonchalant man keeps those gates closed, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. There's something deeply magnetic about a man who doesn't reveal himself completely. He doesn't give away his thoughts at the slightest push. He doesn't expose his emotions to every passing stimulus. He doesn't rush to justify his actions. He is a question without an answer, a presence that lingers long after he's gone. This is the aura of mystery, and it's one of the most potent forms of silent power. The inaccessible man isn't distant out of arrogance. He's distant by choice. He's learned a timeless truth. What's hard to figure out instantly becomes more valuable. People are naturally drawn to what they can't fully understand. Mystery sparks fascination, and fascination creates influence. When you're completely transparent, people size you up quickly. They place you in a neat little box in their minds and move on. But when you're enigmatic, you linger in their thoughts. They keep coming back, trying to unravel you. Even if you say little, your presence pulls them in. It disturbs them, yet it attracts them. Why? Because most people today are used to overexposure, neediness disguised as friendliness, urgency disguised as interest. But when someone shows up with restraint, control, and intentional silence, the contrast is magnetic. Being inaccessible doesn't mean being absent. It means being selective. It sends a powerful message. Your attention is a privilege, not a given. And that changes everything. The man who protects his mystery becomes an emotional anchor for others. He doesn't beg to be noticed. Ironically, he's remembered precisely because he doesn't try. Nonchalance and arrogance often get confused, but they couldn't be more different. Arrogance is rooted in an inflated ego, in a constant need to prove worth. Nonchalance, on the other hand, is born from true inner security. The arrogant man must always be seen, heard, validated. He shouts to remind the world of his importance. The nonchalant man doesn't need that. He knows who he is. His presence alone speaks volumes, even in silence. Arrogance is loud, fleeting, and breeds resistance. It's a mask for insecurity, a fear of not being enough without applause. Nonchalance, by contrast, is calm, steady, and enduring. It doesn't seek validation. It naturally ignores judgment. The truly confident man doesn't waste time trying to impress. His self-worth isn't tied